For a fighter who had been in a massive slump between late 2018 and 2019, losing 3 back-to-back Ultimate Fighting Championship fights, Tai Tuivasa has come back fierce, winning 4 UFC fights on the trot and seems to be in the form of his life with all of his last 4 wins coming off of knockouts. In today's video, we'll be discussing Tuivasa's ferocious run of form and other UFC news. Stay tuned! Augusto Sakai, latest victim. On December 12th at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, the Australian Titan Tuivasa absolutely knocked out Augusto Sakai 26 seconds into the second round after an evenly matched first round. Tuivasa has stretched his impressive record to 14-3 now, and despite being unranked, Bam Bam seems to be hitting all the right punches and can do no wrong. The first round took off at a slow pace, with each one trying to get the measure of the other. The latter parts of the round were focused in the clinch, with Sakai landing knees to Tuivasa's midsection, who responded with short elbows. The second round was Tuivasa unleashed. With a much more aggressive approach, he landed a left hook that made Sakai retreat, but Tuivasa, persistent as he is, kept up a barrage of blows until a particularly scary right hook knocked out Sakai. The entire sequence of events of the second round took just 26 seconds. The 28-year-old, who had walked out to the fight in style with Barbie Girl by Aqua playing in the background and pulling off multiple shoeies, the iconic celebration in which one drinks a beer from a shoe, celebrated the win by climbing onto the side of the octagon and pulling off another shoey. He walked back indulging in even more shoeies and a beer shower to boot. Sakai, who was at one point having a stellar 15-1-1 record, has been on a 3-fight losing streak, with the first 2 coming at the hands of Lorenzo Rozenstruik and Alistair Overeem. Tuivasa in the post-fight interview reiterated what he has been saying in his previous interviews, that he feels back in form and that he is only getting better and better. On his strategy towards winning the fight, he disclosed that his corner told him that Sakai was leaving his left side open and then it was just a careful wait for the optimal time in the hunt for the win. Asked about his future fights, he presented an indifferent figure, saying that it was not his job to set his fights and that he'll fight anyone. Tai Tuivasa is in the best form of his life, with a streak of 4 consecutive victories coming over Sakai, Greg Hardy, Harry Hunsucker, and Stefan Struve. This run of form is in contrast to the slump he suffered, in which he lost 3 straight fights. Now for some other UFC news. Let's take a look at Dana White's outburst. The president of the Ultimate Fighting Championship went off on UFC middleweight champion Israel Adesanya's tweet, in which he replied to the UFC's post with a cap implying that the UFC and Dana had lied about Adesanya's next title defense against Robert Whittaker at UFC 271, which was announced during UFC 269. The fight has actually been in the pipeline for a few months, with the holdup being the choice of venues. Adesanya wanted the fight to be held in New Zealand, which is no longer a possibility considering the worsening global COVID situation, and it has been decided that the fight would be held in Houston at 185 pounds. During the press conference after UFC 269, Dana was informed that Adesanya had implied as such, and went on to question UFC's chief operating officer Hunter Campbell, who informed him that they did indeed have it in writing that the fight between Adesanya and Whittaker has been set already. Visibly angry, Dana went on to say that he didn't care who Adesanya fought, and that if he does not want to fight Whittaker, then he doesn't care, and that they'll find some other fight for him. Perturbed over the accusation, Dana went on to say that they had been setting fights for the last 20 years, and they have never lied about any fights no matter how difficult it has been to set them up. He was so affected by the allegations that when asked about the upset in the fight between Pena versus Nunes, he replied that he was still preoccupied with Adesanya's comment. Adesanya became the unified UFC middleweight champion in 2019, defeating Robert Whittaker. The 32-year-old has an outstanding 21-1 record in MMA, with his only defeat coming in a reckless move in which he tried to move up to light heavyweight and become a double champion without actually gaining any significant weight. Next, Poirier versus Oliveira. In one of the most highly anticipated fights came to pass, the UFC lightweight title defense of Charles Oliveira against Dustin Poirier, the number 2 in the UFC lightweight rankings. To say that it lived up to the billing is an understatement and an injustice to the show put up by the finest in the weight class. The Brazilian Oliveira, having the record for the most submission wins with 15 and the most finishes with 18 in UFC history, has the distinct honor of being one of only 9 fighters in UFC history to have 20 wins. He is also tied for the second longest UFC active winning streak with 10, behind only Kamaru Usman's 15 consecutive wins. Oliveira won the vacant belt after Khabib Nurmagomedov retired with a second-round technical knockout victory over Michael Chandler at UFC 262 in May. His first UFC title came after 28 UFC fights, which in itself is a record for the most fights before a first UFC title. The American Poirier had the record for the most KO or TKO victories in UFC history with 8. Before the fight, Poirier was on a 3 consecutive win streak and just 1 loss in the last 10 fights, coming at the hands of former lightweight champion Khabib at UFC 242 in 2019. Poirier beat Conor McGregor in back-to-back wins, including a doctor stoppage TKO after McGregor's leg was broken. Considering these wins, many thought that it was just a matter of formality for Poirier to be declared the lightweight champion. Yet Oliveira, despite being being the champion and the underdog, both had other ideas. In the first round of the fight, Poirier put pressure on Oliveira several times, dropping him with a dangerous left hook, but Oliveira survived the early pressure and with a big left hook gained momentum late in the round. The second round went as the first had ended, with Oliveira being the dominant force in the octagon, pummeling Poirier with hard elbows being on top of him throughout the round. Oliveira was having one of the most dangerous back games in the championship, took Poirier's back with him, standing up, and despite Poirier fighting his hands, Oliveira found the choke that led to the submission and to him retaining his title for the third fight in a row. UFC President Dana White, speaking after the main event of UFC 269, said that the former interim champion Justin Gaethje made sense as Oliveira's next challenger for the lightweight title. Gaethje beat Chandler last month at UFC 268 and has taken digs at Oliveira, questioning his heart. Oliveira brushed off all sorts of naysayers on Saturday night, going on to say in the post-fight press conference that he doesn't talk, unlike his competition, and all that he does is win. Is Conor McGregor making a comeback? Losing out to Dustin Poirier in their fight trilogy, ending up with a broken leg, McGregor has been pulling out all the stops trying to get back in form so he can get back into the UFC octagon. The only problem is that it seems he is over-enthusiastic to make a comeback, and his entourage have a proper job on their hands trying to make him err on the side of caution so as to not exasperate the injury and effectively sabotage his own career. His coach John Kavanagh says that he has managed to delay his comeback to at least early summer because the Irishman has not been training for the mixed martial arts as of now. He is focused on strength and conditioning training and taking the coach's advice. The two-time former champion has already been dishing out challenges to potential competition, including his latest being in a tweet in which he asked when does he get to face Oliveira following his win over Poirier. Nate Diaz versus Dustin Poirier on the horizon? Despite Poirier appearing to be doubtful about the future of his career after his third-round submission loss to Oliveira, he went on to say that he would be up for the challenge should Nate Diaz express interest in fighting him. Well, Diaz, on the final fight of his UFC contract, did just that, tweeting a picture of their face-off from August 2018, saying that he'd fight Poirier in January, to which Poirier replied, saying that he'd fight him this month, December. That's a wrap for this video. Will Tuivasa manage to capitalize on the terrific form he is on, or will we see another slump soon? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this, and we'll see you in the next one.